What's going on, guys? Destiny Heroic here, and back again to show you my latest deck profile. This is for my Ramio Reverse Crossride Angel Feather Celestial deck. So obviously I'm using these two as my grade 3s, 4 copies of each. So yeah, so 4 copies of each of these. The reason I like this deck, there's another deck that's been running around in the tournament scene. It uses Ramio Reverse and Zerakiel and ignores the Break Ride. The reason I don't like that deck is because it relies too heavily on having 2 specific cards face up in your damage zone, which is very difficult to pull off. And I just find that with the Break Ride effect, where you can gain more access to the damage zone, it adds quite a bit more consistency to the deck. So as my starter, I'm using the original Celestial starter, Peniel. Put it in Soul, call something out of your damage, and then put the top card of your deck face down into the damage zone. So it's basically like you're counterblasting and getting a superior call. I was thinking about using the other Ride Phase Suicide starter, but the problem with that is that it just didn't happen as often. Like ideally, you'd want to be at 3 damage, go up to 4, do a Break Ride, and then go back down to 3 again at the end of the turn. In my experience, that didn't happen very much, and I like being able to get earlier access to my damage zone with Peniel. Like if I put a grade 2 into my damage, I can superior call it right away. So that's why I like Peniel over the other one. And I already showed you the grade 3s, so grade 2s, I'm using 4 copies of Raguel. 12k attacker for Celestials. The reason I like this is because in the late game, I'll be using Ramio Reverse's Limit Break a lot, which will pump my front row by 5k. And this is a 12k plus 5 is a 17. So it's pretty much a decent column on its own if I lock the unit behind it. So next one I'm using is Candle Celestial Serial. Serial, counterblast 1 and put something from your deck into your damage zone, and then heal a damage, face-up damage. So this is what you'll usually get to throw your Ramio Reverse into the damage zone to activate the Limit Break. But it can also be used to add a lot of consistency to your deck. You can use it to play around with your damage zone so that you don't get grade stuck. It's basically a really important unit, but I'm not using 4 because it's only an 8k body, and in the late game that's not too useful. Next card is Danielle. When you take a damage, if this is in the damage zone, you counterblast a Celestial and call this out of the damage zone, and then put the top card of your deck into the damage. So what's really interesting about this, besides it being a free superior call that you can do on your opponent's turn and basically add 5k to your total shield, when you have 2 of these in damage and you take a damage, you can trigger both of them and then use one as the cost to bring out the other. Then you add another damage, and then this one you can actually still call out by counterblasting another Celestial. So you basically activate the effect of a face down card, which is pretty gruesome. It's pretty good, and that's why I really like this card. I would use 4, except I don't actually have 4. So the last grade 2 I'm using is this single 10k. But yeah, Danielle is a really good card, and it's definitely worthy of being run in 3 or 4 in the Angel Feather deck. So for grade 1s, obviously the obligatory 4 null guards. With the game the way it is now, especially with the grade 4s and the Link Jokers and stuff out there hitting giant numbers, it's important to have as many null guards as you can. So the people who are running the 3 null guards out there, I mourn for you. Second grade 1 I'm using is the Arabaki, which is basically the 10k when there's a Celestial Vanguard. All my cards that are going to be in the Vanguard circle are Celestials. So this, and the reason I like a grade 1 that can attack for 10k is because in a pinch, it can be a 15k when I have to lock the unit behind it for the Ramiel reverse effect. 3 copies of Narelle. Narelle is basically switch a card in your hand for a card in damage. That effect can trigger a Danielle ability if it's in there before the switch. But again, it basically adds a lot of consistency and combos together with Sariel to help you avoid getting grade stuck and ensure that you get your break ride off. Finally, some non-celestials in the deck, 3 copies of Nociel. Again, for the same reason as Narelle, I'm using this to add consistency to the deck. And for triggers, there's not too much going on here that isn't expected. 8 criticals. I'm using the one non-celestial critical because celestials only have 1 critical trigger at the moment. 4 heals and 4 draws. The deck I mentioned before, the Zerakiel deck, that uses 4 copies of Ramiel Reverse, uses a lot of the ones that I've seen have been using stand triggers, and that's because instead of locking 2 units and having and buffing your front row 3 units, they end up locking 4 units and costing the opponent 2 cards off their field, but then they only have 2 attacks. And the idea is that they want to attack with the rear guard, hit a stand trigger, and then attack with the rear guard again to get 3 attacks out. But if you're relying on triggers to even get your 3rd attack, I find that in my experience, running stand triggers in decks that can't exploit them to their fullest, they just don't show up when you want them to. So I've opted to just go with the critical lineup and just keep the power flowing that way. So obviously I've showed you the grade 3s already. For Break Ride Ramiel, Break Ride, add 10k and add a card in your damage to your hand, and then take the top card of your deck as damage. And then Ramiel Reverse, 13k when you ride over regular Ramiel, and lock 2 units, pump your Celestials in the front row by 3 or by 5k, and the opponent heals the damage and then puts one of the rear guards in the damage. So you can, with a full field, you can lock 4 units and cost them 2 cards on the field, but then, like I said before, you only have 2 attacks. And in this deck, it's actually better to keep the to only do it once and just kind of grind them away that way. Especially with the threat of the criticals, they'll want to guard more, because even if you do hit a stand trigger in that deck, it's still only ever going to be 1 damage. So yeah, that's the deck. This is a pretty fun deck. It's definitely tournament worthy. And yeah, so let me know what you think. Let me see. Show me any feedback you want to give me, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on my videos for more videos. And thanks for watching. Peace.